So happy to be together with you again, Meredith Grundei. What
I
a
know.
treat.
Joseph Bennett, you in your beautiful home in San Miguel de Allende in Mexico, and that's where we met
It
all those
is.
years
Yes.
ago.
Some people might not know that story. We met in San Miguel de Allende at a place called Micro Teatro, which is micro theater. I was performing and you were a lovely audience member.
I was, and then one of us said the word improvisation, and it's
Been
been
too long. It's just been too long. I wanted to tell you this is probably the last time we're going to see each other because enough, right?
yeah,
Enough.
enough is enough. At some point, you have to say, "Friend, I've seen you too much,"
One time I resigned from a job and my resignation letter was enough is enough exclamation point.
and they never spoke to you again.
Not that I know, but it was a restaurant job. I love the restaurant. I love the people I work with, but it was sold and new management came in and everybody left and I stayed on for a couple of months trying to bail out a sinking ship. Not an interesting story for our meeting today, though, Meredith
Well,
Grundei.
I don't know about that. There might be a lot of people who can just relate to the story you just shared because I'm sure lots
Enough
of
is
people have
enough.
been.
If that's too many words, they can just do EIE. Enough is enough.
We, we
Leave
love
them
our story.
guessing.
Well, okay, so yeah, let's tell the people who are watching right now why we're here. And I'm going to bring
Mm,
up, I think we have a chat that people want to ask us questions. They can go free and do so and introduce themselves.
yes, go free. Go
Go
free on
free,
the
be
chat.
free. Say whatever you want in the chat. We will answer it. We will give you, if it's a non sequitur, we'll give you a non sequitur of an answer.
True
So,
enough.
fair enough. We are gathered here today, Joseph Bennett, because because I do lives with all the members of Confidently Speaking. I don't force them to do it. Hello, Patty. It's good to see you. I do not force people to do this with me. I invite the members of Confidently Speaking. And the reason being is because there are many ways as professionals and humans in the world that we get to use our voices. And
Mm,
this is one of those platforms is to go live on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook or wherever your platform of choice is. And so it's a muscle that also needs to be built. We're not all like we weren't born to get on LinkedIn lives.
no, we were not.
Nope.
And I don't even know that we were born to use our voices in any way, shape, or form that we are using them these days, right?
Oh, we are using our voices more
Shush.
than we
More
ever
than
thought.
God intended. Yes.
Yeah, Mike, it's so good to see you. Thank you for being here, and greetings from Lima. Yes. So I really feel it's important that when you're really learning how to use your voice, it's to get comfortably uncomfortable.
Mm.
And one thing I started doing, I'm doing a 1 month, one time, not 1 month. I'm not doing it for a full month. One day out of the month, I will show up here for 30 minutes and do what I call the speaker's lounge.
Yes, I remember that. I saw that.
Because
Hmm.
that's hard to be able to hold space by yourself for 30 minutes. And it's great when there's people in the chats, but I've even done it on TikTok. Like, and if you don't have questions coming at you, you're essentially just speaking into what feels like it could be the void. It's not.
Extemporaneously, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, for those of us who don't know extemporaneously, and Meredith can define this better than I ever will, but it is unplanned speech where you are just improvising and showing up with language that is not planned.
Yeah. And oftentimes I'll have a theme, it may be, so that I'm adding value and hopefully helping some people out. But
Hmm.
after a while, you're like, wait a minute, did I just say that? Like, I think I just said that.
May I ask you a question about your stages that you do once a month, or do you call it a salon,
A lounge.
a lounge?
Mhm.
May I ask you a question about that? Do you
Yeah.
ever do clock watching? Like, oh my gosh, I've only been here for 17 minutes, and then you start doing the math in your head, like, oh, I have to be here for a while longer.
I haven't done that yet.
Good. You don't need to.
What I've noticed is that I talk really fast. For some reason, I feel like maybe mentally, unconsciously, that if I talk fast, time will go by faster.
Oh. Mm.
So that's what I've noticed in my.
Guess what happened to me this week?
Tell me more.
I was finishing up a 5-week mindset coaching program with my husband, Eli Hans, and our clients. And when you go into Zoom, it will give you a transcript
Mhm.
of what happened, what transpired during the call. And my language, my transcript was like this. And I was like, I talk a lot. So I'm not going to say anything for the rest of our time together today. Thank you.
I saw what you did there, Joseph Bennett. Saw what you did there. But
Hmm.
I love what you brought up though, because sometimes we do say more than what we need to say, or we don't share the space as much as we could share it.
Mm. Well, Meredith, isn't it true for both? Like sometimes we say too much, and sometimes we don't have the cojones, the balls, to
Or
say
the
what we
or the
really want to
ovaries.
say,
Yeah.
or the ovaries. So we don't, like, there's a balance between those two, right? Talking too much and talking too little. And speaking of talking just the perfect amount, hello, Tina Larson. Thank you for joining us from New York City.
Hello, Tina.
She is also a member of Confidently Speaking. Did you
Hmm.
know that?
I did know
Yes, I bet you did.
that.
I bet you
And
did.
for people who are like, what is confidently speaking? It's
Oh.
improv for speakers. We do improv exercises, and then we also leave room for practice so that people can
Mm.
practice their talks or pitches or whatever they have coming up.
Wow.
Yeah. But to go back to what you were saying, though, Joseph, I do feel that it's yes and to both. It's both and, if you will. That it's true that some people can manage themselves by not talking too much. And then there's also the person who needs to take that brave step forward
Mm. And say something.
and say something. And also for those of us at the table to recognize the person who hasn't said anything yet and to invite that conversation in. So it's really about figuring out how to take care of each other too and being
Mm.
self-aware. Awesome. Hello, Peter. Good to see you. Yes, you met Joseph. You guys had a meeting. Okay, Tina, what made you get into improv? Oh, are you asking that question for? We're going to both answer that question, but Joseph, you're the guest, so you start.
Ladies first.
Oh goodness. Well, I got into improv because uh, I was doing theater. I was doing a lot of theater in San Francisco, and I ended up in a sketch comedy group called Old Man McGinty. And one of the members, Ryan Goland, was moving to Chicago to study improv. And I had done a little bit, and I loved it, but I wasn't like, oh,
Mm.
like should I study? So I went to Chicago too, and I interned my way through IO, and then ended up teaching at the Second City because what
We don't know what IO is. I'm sorry. Improv Olympics.
it's Improv Lib. It's another improv place in Chicago where you can study the Herald. And what I realized now, reflecting back, is that improv really helped me find my voice in a new way. Where a script was great and a character was great as an actor, it helped me bring out my confidence to a certain point. But then being able to speak extemporaneously and
Mm.
off the cuff and do that in collaboration with other people and come to the stage with my own point of view really developed my speaking voice on a completely different level and made me confident in ways that I don't think I would have necessarily had developed that because I was that kid. And so, Tina, and I know this about you as well. Like I was afraid of sounding stupid. I was
Mm.
afraid
Mm.
of not having the right answer. So I was that person at the table that you were just talking about, Joseph, who wouldn't share their voice or their point of view because I was terrified. Okay, your turn.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer, Meredith Grundei. And thanks for the question, Tina. So I was in high school and I had the great gift, the great blessing of going to a vocational school. And listener, if you don't know what that means, it means that there were trades that you could learn in addition to your typical high school studies. And I was in a trade I was not enjoying at all, although it came back to really be a benefit in my life, which was carpentry. And I heard through the announcements. Remember in high school when they would have announcements and they
Yeah.
had auditions for the Del Castle players? And I was like, oh, I want to go to an audition. And I did. And I ended up transferring from one vocational trade to theater. and just absolutely loved it. And there was this much improv that was taught through the 3 years that I was in that program. And always loved improv. And when I left high school, I was in a ballet company. And as you know, ballet is so specific. Every note is choreographed. There is no improvisation. And it was not for me. Even though I stayed with it for 8 years, I was the type of guy who wanted to be in the corner just making up my own stuff. So when
Mhm.
I moved to Mexico and I told my husband Eli Hans, I'm like, I really want to do improv while we're here. And I said that for a couple of years. And finally, in an exasperated state, he turned to me and he said, there is no improv here. You're going to have to start it on your own. You're going to have to start something now. And I did. And our troupe has been together for 12 years and we teach classes. And I love, because as Meredith was saying, it just gives you so much freedom to quote unquote make mistakes and to be curious and to just show up with absolutely nothing and trust that between you and the other people in the room, you're going to create something. Doesn't
Ah,
have to doesn't have to be magnificent, doesn't have to be funny, doesn't even have to be lasting. You're just creating something out of nothing and trusting yourself. So,
oh my God. Yes, I love, and it's the laughter too that really builds the trust. It's just so contagious. I want to say hi to Lewis here from Australia. Hello, it's really good to have you watching right now. So I got to do a facilitation for the junior league in New Jersey at the beginning of
can
the
you say that with a New York accent? The Junior
no,
League from New Jersey,
the junior league.
from
Junior
Josie.
league. Making me laugh. And we just did a really simple exercise that we built up to. And you've done this before, but you build a story one word at a time. And we started doing it with partners. And then I had each table, because there was like 60 some people there, and each table
Mm.
would do one word at a time in a circle around the table. And the laughter in that room was amazing. It filled my heart. It was contagious. And afterwards I always do a debrief with the table, like, how did that go? What was your narrative? What was the story? And the stories that they created in this very short period of time were hilarious.
Mm.
They were hilarious, and it was so simple. It's one word at a time. You had 4 minutes. Boom. It's really magical what we can do when we really collaboratively yes and each other, which is one of the foundations of improv.
Mm. Ladies and gentlemen who are watching and or listening, please raise your metaphorical hand if you think that we need more levity in the world right now. If you personally need more laughter in your life, right? Because I don't know if you know this, Meredith, but there's some stuff happening in the world right
Yeah,
now that's
there's a
not
lot.
a whole lot of fun, right? And and laughter is the best medicine. And improv is a jolt of laughter and levity into our lives. 1 hour a week
1 hour
on
a week.
Zoom, confidently speaking,
1 hour a
Wednesdays,
week. Wednesdays,
4 p.m.
4
Eastern
p.m.
Standard Time.
Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
Every
Look,
Wednesday.
I'm even able to do my time zone
I
changes that
know.
quickly.
Hey,
Wow.
I think the other thing that we should tell people who are watching right now too is that we have a podcast together that we've had during the pandemic.
What?
We started.
What?
We do.
I didn't know. Wow.
Are you
That's
waiting for
incredible.
permission?
It's a great title for a podcast.
It
Are
really
you waiting for permission? And I will also say that it's 98.6% guest based. So
Yeah.
we have guests throughout the year. We've been doing this for a couple of years, as Meredith said. And sometimes it's just the two of us because we like each other so much that we don't invite a guest on. And it happens once a month.
Once a
Once
month.
a month it happens.
It happens once a month, and we stream it live. So you have two opportunities, more than two. But if you want to watch it live, you can. Then you can watch it on
Mm.
video, or you can listen to it
On
on
Apple
any of your
Podcasts
favorite.
or
Yes,
Spotify, any of that.
any of it.
Hmm.
Any of
And you
it.
can even review us and you can say, oh my gosh, you guys aren't too bad.
Or you could be a guest.
Or you could be a
You can
guest.
reach out to
Or
us.
you could be a Patreon supporter.
Or you could be a Patreon
Look
supporter.
at all these ways that people can just hang out with us.
Do you know what I love about us, Joseph? Is that
Nothing.
we don't have one Patreon supporter.
Oh, I know. Isn't that the
We've
best?
had Patreon up for 2 years and we have not utilized that at all. So
Oh, you know
I'm
what?
so
I
glad
bet
you
we are
told
going to
me
have
soon.
somebody before American Thanksgiving. That's the challenge. We will have a Patreon supporter before American Thanksgiving, which is November 23rd. So it's
Okay.
a
I'm
month
holding
from
you to
now.
that. All right.
Hmm.
We're going to come back here. We're going to tell the world.
Will we?
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
You know me.
Okay.
If I put it out in the universe, I make it happen. Not
You
everything,
make it happen.
but a lot
That's
of
beautiful.
things.
Yeah. So you're doing Speak.
I
Tell us what
am.
Speak is.
So Speak is a platform for people with stories and ideas. And actually, one of our members, two of our members, Catherine Beltran and Tina Larson, are both speaking at this Speak event that's happening
Oh,
here in New York City in Midtown on October 25th. And the doors open at 5:30. We're going to have entertainment from our beautiful friend who's been a guest on, actually, both of them have been a guest on Are You Waiting for Permission? Darius Anthony Robertson, and then my husband, Gary Grundei, on piano. And then at 6:30, we have 10 speakers that are going to be speaking on the inspired theme Shelter. And the proceeds are going to go towards Knock Knock Give a Sock, which is a program, an organization. Also, we've had Adina on here as on.
yes, we have. It seems we've had the entire world on our podcast. That's
And
incredible.
I know. And she has this incredible organization, and her story is pretty fantastic if you want to listen back to that podcast episode. But she essentially brings communities together to humanize homelessness and to really elevate their stories for people who live in shelters. And
Hmm.
the theme was inspired by that, but that's not necessarily what each one of those stories is about. Each story has a different interpretation of whether that be metaphorical or an emotional relationship to shelter itself. And so the storytellers are just wonderful and really heart centered. And I'm really excited for this event that's happening on Wednesday. So thank you for asking me about it.
Absolutely. Will Adina also be one of the speakers in addition to Tina and
Yeah, Adina
Catherine?
will be one of the speakers, and also Suzanne Dunn, who was on our podcast, which we haven't released that episode yet, and she's got a really moving story as well. And this is the first time I've produced an event like this. Speak is a new platform that's really quickly growing. I would say maybe a competitor to TED, but it's hard to say that out loud, because TEDx is such a big thing. But I really like the platform a lot. It gives a lot more freedom for our speakers to express themselves in ways that I don't think you can on a TED stage. And
Mhm.
so I find that really intriguing. And we have channel partners who nominate the speakers for these events. And so I'm excited about it.
How do people buy tickets?
They can go on speakevent.com and go to shelter.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. Thank you.
You're
What
welcome.
else, what else do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about when I want to talk about how you do artist retreats with just yourself, and you came to New York last year, and I want you to tell me a little bit about that tradition and how you got into
Oh.
that tradition of doing that, because I'm a little jelly. I feel like I need
Hmm.
to do that for myself.
And you can. You absolutely can.
Yes.
So, an artist retreat is a very informal experience that I give myself at least once a year where I travel to another city for at least a week and just do all these kind of creative, artistic, experiences of going to museums. And I work in found objects, so going to a thrift store for me is a huge creative endeavor. I often see theater. The last time I saw theater and dance, and I do a lot of journaling. Often I'm working on a project. I'm getting ready to release my sixth book. So I will bring my manuscript with me and give myself like a good like 3, 4, 5 hours of just sitting there drinking decaf or green juice and working on my manuscript. So it's just time alone where I am nurturing my inner artistic self. And I love it. And I have gone to Montgomery, Alabama to see the lynching memorial and did art in reaction to that. I have gone to Mississippi and Memphis, Tennessee to see the Slave Haven Museum and did art in reaction to that. I've been to Philadelphia. And I've been to New York, as Meredith mentioned, and my next one is scheduled in May of 2024 to go to Savannah, Georgia. So I'm mostly concentrating on the East Coast because I love isn't the right word. I am curious about the history of the earliest Americans and the experience of slavery that people have been through.
Yeah,
So,
learning that lineage is important. So yeah, and there's a lot. When we went on our RV trip, we did that same route essentially that you're talking about, and went to all
hmm
the same museums and just learned more about our history in that way. Yeah, which is super important for this
beautiful.
country.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I encourage other people to do it as well. When we are faced with, do we want to spend $20 at a bar or $20 at a museum? Just ask yourself which one is going to nourish you in a sustainable way moving forward,
yeah,
right? So think about that. Not that there's anything with going to a bar,
you could do both.
but
You could do both.
both.
You could go
Yeah.
to the museum and then you go to the bar and you could talk about what you saw.
Talk about what you saw.
Yes,
Mhm.
100%, 100%. So
Meredith, can you hear me okay? Because I can no longer hear myself.
I can hear you.
Great. Okay. I'll just pretend that I'm saying all the right things.
You are saying all you're saying the right things. And if you don't, I will let you know. We're that kind of friends.
hmm
Mhm. So what else is okay? So anything else that we should talk about that's on the horizon before we say
Mm.
goodbye? If anyone who's watching or
Mhm.
listening right now wants to ask us questions, please feel free to do so. Uh,
How can somebody find out about confidently speaking?
Confidently speaking, you can find out it's members.confidentlyspeaking.fun because it's fun. And it's a membership program. I take new members 4 times a year. I'm sure if you nudged me, though, I would take you in anyway. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, because I like to be nudged every once in a while.
Yeah.
I've done that for people in the past. It's a really wonderful community that I house on Mighty Networks, and it's very, very supportive, brave, safe space. And all of them, and we even have like a little LinkedIn group together, and it's been really a wonderful community of people that has come together, and I feel really grateful for that. So if you want to join us, please feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to me in the DMs on LinkedIn, or you can reach
Mm.
out to me, and I'm at Meredith at grundeicoaching.com. So there's lots of ways. You could send a carrier pigeon. I'm in New
I
York.
love carrier pigeons.
Them.
That's perfect. What I really love about confidently speaking is that there are not a lot of opportunities for us to workshop what we're working on, right? Like we might practice in front of the mirror, practice in front of our spouse, practice in front of our dog, which is one of my favorite ways to practice my speech. But to actually be able to show up in a community of other people who are practicing this craft,
Yeah.
like that is a very unique niche. And I applaud you for creating that for us. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, as an actor, I realized that it's the dress rehearsal, and oftentimes speakers don't get the dress rehearsal in front of an audience. And so that it you learn a lot when you have the preview or the dress rehearsal about where some of those gaps might be or where the adjustments need to happen. And it's a different level of energy when you're in front of an audience, and
Mm.
it's vulnerable. It's really,
hmm
it can be quite vulnerable. So why not take a little bit of that anxiety out of the equation and provide community for it? And so I've really, and people are bringing some really wonderful things to the table and have really grown tremendously. It's
Mm.
been great.
And I want to applaud you for showing up every Wednesday for years to hold space for us and to do it so professionally and so magnificently and with so much heart. That's huge. It's just huge, Meredith Grundei.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
And
Um,
I'm out.
okay.
I'm,
Well,
I'm I'm getting a new hard drive installed today, and no, that is not a euphemism for something else. It actually is a hard drive in my computer, which I've never done before. So I'm sending white light all over my beautiful 10-year-old iMac, and yeah, I love you.
I love you too. And I hope that if you watched this episode of, I don't even know what this is, this episode of Confidently Speaking with Joseph Bennett and Meredith Grundei. Uh, these are pop-ups that I do with my members with Confidently Speaking. I'm going to be doing 2 more, I believe. So keep the lookout for that.
You do not sound very confident when you are
I
saying 2
didn't.
more, 3
I'm
more.
questioning myself. I think I have Jean and Sherry and Mark coming up. So please be looking for that. And I guess from here, I'm going to say goodbye, but not forever.
Not forever. We'll see you later. We'll just say we'll
See
see
you
you
later.
later.
Okay.
Are you waiting for permission? members.confidentlyspeaking.fun
Fun.
and meredithgrundei.com.
It's a lot.
Phew.
God. Okay.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.